one thing I think it's a trend in Africa. It's like countries are competing to borrow more and more, and that's a really bad habit. I'll speak about few facts about Tanzania in terms of debt and where we are right now. Right now, debt in terms of priority, in terms of the expenditure around debt, it's either number one or number two. That should tell you something. It takes around over 40% in some instances in terms of just repayment and servicing it in every budget cycle. This really complicates the service delivery to citizens. And as of this year, the estimate of the debt servicing alone, it's going to be beyond even the salaries that the government has to pay its staff for the next year. The other fact is just for the period of 1 year between last year and this year, in our budget, it has increased by 20%. So that's equivalent around 3 billion USD. Government has been, Tanzania has been really relying on borrowing so that to finance its services. Some of our neighbors think that maybe we are doing better with this debt, but then it's really bring a lot of strain in a service delivery. As of now, 63% of Tanzania debt, it's owned by multilateral. And then this bring this fact that yes, we need some kind of debt relief one way or another. I think we had this conversation back in year 2000s, and we were able to manage that. But I think the horizon has changed, and that can really bring the difficulties one way. But I think it's important that we able to get these haircuts one way or another, because the strain in service delivery, we are trying to get as much more domestic revenue, but it's going to be really difficult to be able to sustain this way. When you look at the growth of debt, if you have a 10% growth in a year-to-year basis, and then you only have 6% growth in terms of GDP, that can really be unsustainable. The GDP cannot really finance these kind of debts. And recently, with the change of exchange rates in terms of USD, we can see that in the next few years, it's going to really ballooning one way or another. So it's going to have a really negative impact in all of Africa, not only in Tanzania, because of what's happening on the things that we cannot control. Now, on my opinion, I think maybe this can go not only for Tanzania, but maybe in a lot of African countries. We need transparency. That's number one. And in terms of transparency, for instance, in Tanzania, every time when the Minister of Finance come in and speaking about debt, we always talk about debt sustainability, debt to GDP ratio, rather than talking about what is the level of repayment in terms of the constraint that it brings to the budget. So maybe it's not about how much can the debt reach. We don't want it to reach 80%. And it should be like the debt repayment cap, maybe it's a 10% or 15%. Maybe that can be sustainable in a long term, rather than talking about at which level can we keep on borrowing. And that's number one. That's number two in terms of transparency. We need the reporting that really can capture the imagination. It should not be only 1 year. We need the estimate for the next 5 years. Where do we see in terms of debt, so that the public can see and then we can be able to talk to our government or engage in this conversation, because without having that picture, really it's a difficulty. The other thing, I think, all the debts, as long as borrowing is concerned, I think the parliament needs to be able to talk about it, and then if we need to pass, we need to go through the parliament processes. That need to be really done, because I think that is like the recognition that yes, we acknowledge that this debt coming in, rather than just the executive dealing with it by themselves. The new trend, for instance, in Tanzania, there's been a really increase in terms of private borrowing, bank borrowings. If you, for instance, last year, we had like around 14 trillion, that almost the whole of the debt, while from the grants, there was only less than 1 trillion T shillings. So with this kind of debts, it's bring the issue of the debt arrangement cost and expenses. And this really, at the end of the day, it's a part of the debt, but that amount of money doesn't go straight to the service delivery. Rather, it goes to the banks and these brokers for those debts. So I think as well, we need to put a cap on private borrowings, because that, I don't think a lot of money goes straight to the public. And then the other thing, I think we need to think about all of Africa. Can we enshrine this in our constitution? And the debt, if we say this is a cap, this is how we are going to manage debt as a country, we need to enshrine in our constitution, so that not only the law can be changed from day to day, or the executive can think that, okay, we can do this or we can do that. But if we agree as a public that we can only borrow up to this level and nothing more than that, and it being enshrined in the Constitution, I think that can be really important as well, and it can be something bring more accountability to the government and public as well. Yeah. Other than that, I think the conversation needs to be really continue, because debt, it's already part of our lives now. Every shilling that we pay, it goes there. So yeah, thank you.